They told you to build a business plan. God is telling you to build an altar. While the world celebrates entrepreneurs who grind 24/7 to make money, few are asking the real question. What if profit without purpose is just another form of bondage? In the rush to scale, many Christian entrepreneurs are unknowingly building towers of Babel. Impressive, loud, and completely disconnected from heaven's will. If you've ever felt the tension between your faith and your ambition, between God's voice and your business goals, you're not alone. And maybe, just maybe, that uneasiness in your spirit isn't a lack of drive, but a divine invitation. An invitation to build a different kind of business, a godly business, a kingdom company where strategy flows from surrender, growth follows grace, and every transaction is a testimony. What you're about to discover isn't in secular business books. It's rarely preached from pulpits, but it's the hidden path to building something that not only prospers you, but expands the kingdom. So let's open the vault and walk into what most entrepreneurs never even knew was possible, the foundation of a purpose-driven business, surrendering the blueprint to God. Before a Christian business can thrive, it must first surrender, not to the market, not to trends, but to the author of purpose himself, God. Too often, entrepreneurs rush into planning mode, drawing business maps with ambition but no revelation. Proverbs 16:3 reminds us, "Commit your works to the Lord, and your plans will be established." This isn't poetic filler. It's a divine business strategy. Surrendering the blueprint doesn't mean abandoning strategy. It means submitting it for divine audit before execution. The world says launch fast, but the kingdom says wait for my voice. Think of Noah. He didn't build the ark from his imagination. He followed detailed instructions from God, down to the cubit. That obedience saved generations. What could your obedience birth? A godly business begins not with a marketing plan, but with a prayer closet. Some of the most effective Christian entrepreneurs schedule time with God before they meet with investors. They ask, "Lord, is this idea yours or just mine?" And sometimes the divine answer disrupts their earthly plans entirely, only to replace them with something eternal and exponentially more impactful. The foundation isn't just spiritual, it's structural. When the root is righteousness, the fruit becomes unstoppable. But here's the secret. The moment you surrender control, heaven begins to orchestrate connections, provisions, and strategies that human logic could never foresee. And that's just the beginning. From hustle to calling, why Christian entrepreneurs must listen before acting. The world glorifies hustle. Grind now, rest later, is the anthem of secular entrepreneurship. But in a Christian business, hustle without heavenly direction is just noise. Jesus didn't rush. He moved with purpose. Every step, every word was intentional because it flowed from intimacy with the Father. That's the shift kingdom entrepreneurs must embrace, from doing more to discerning more. Many godly business owners find themselves burnt out not because they lack vision, but because they never pause to verify the source of that vision. When Moses tried to deliver Israel on his own timing, it led to exile. But when he returned under God's command, miracles followed. What if your hustle is just an unsanctified version of your true calling? Listening isn't passive, it's a discipline. It means silencing the noise of productivity culture to hear what God is truly saying. Practically, that could look like setting aside the first 15 minutes of your workday to pray over your clients, ideas, or meetings. It may feel unproductive to the world, but it's deeply profitable in the kingdom economy. Purpose-driven businesses aren't powered by adrenaline. They're powered by alignment, the clarity to make money. God's way comes from obedience, not speed. The path might be slower, but it's sure. And when you start building at the pace of peace, you begin to hear whispers about what's coming next. The difference between a profitable idea and a godly assignment. Not every idea that can make money is a God idea. This distinction is where many Christian business leaders miss their breakthrough. The marketplace is full of profitable ventures that pull people out of purpose. A godly business, however, doesn't chase profit. It obeys assignment. Luke 5 shows us this clearly. Peter had fished all night and caught nothing. But when Jesus said, "Cast your net," the catch was supernatural. A profitable idea may grow fast but burn out. A godly assignment, though, is built to last because its success doesn't depend on market trends but on divine backing. Joseph didn't apply to be Pharaoh's advisor. He was positioned by calling. He was faithful in prison, and God made him fruitful in the palace. Kingdom entrepreneurs must stop asking what's selling and start asking what's sacred. So how do you know the difference? First, test the fruit. A God-given assignment will bear peace, not pressure. It will serve people deeply, not just attract customers. Secondly, Measure alignment. Does it reflect biblical values? Would Jesus endorse how it makes money, treats clients, or impacts culture? If not, it may be profitable, but not purposeful. God doesn't just want you busy, He wants you effective. He wants your business to be a tool of transformation, not just transaction. And when you say yes to your divine assignment, even the resources you lack begin to chase you down. And as we'll see next, that's when success starts being measured by a very different metric. Kingdom metrics. How God measures success differently. In a godly business, success is not defined by profit margins alone. Heaven doesn't applaud the size of your bank account. It celebrates the size of your obedience. While Wall Street asks, how much did you make? The kingdom asks, how many did you serve? And, were you faithful with what I gave you? The parable of the talents, Matthew 25, is clear. Fruitfulness is rewarded, but faithfulness is required first. This shift in perspective is critical for kingdom entrepreneurs. A Christian business might not be the fastest growing on the stock chart, but it could be shaking nations behind the scenes. Impact doesn't always look like influence. A small consulting firm that disciples its clients in biblical stewardship may do more for eternity than a multi-million-dollar brand obsessed with vanity metrics. Kingdom metrics include generosity, transformation, and multiplication. Are lives being changed? Are employees thriving? Is the profit reinvested into the mission, or just comfort? When a godly business honors Sabbath rhythms, pays fair wages, and makes money without manipulation, it reflects heaven's scoreboard, not just Earth's. Of course, that doesn't mean financial results don't matter. They do, but only when they serve the mission, not replace it. True kingdom success grows from purpose, not pressure. And when entrepreneurs get this right, their strategies start aligning with something far more powerful than spreadsheets: the power of obedience in business strategy. In the kingdom, obedience is not optional, it's strategic. God doesn't just give good ideas, He gives divine instructions. And the breakthrough often comes not from what we understand, but from what we obey. Remember Naaman in 2 Kings 5? He was healed not because the river had power, but because he followed the prophet's odd command. Obedience positioned him for a miracle. Christian entrepreneurs often look for trends, analytics, or mentors, and those are helpful, but none of them replace hearing and following God's specific word for your business. A godly business doesn't just copy models, it follows divine marching orders. And sometimes those orders look strange, like forgiving a business partner, or shutting down a profitable arm to preserve integrity. Obedience opens doors data can't. A friend once closed a 6-figure contract because God said, wait. Months later, a 7-figure opportunity opened with global impact. That's the math of obedience. It multiplies beyond logic, but it requires trust. It requires letting go of control, even when the numbers say go, and God says not yet. The most successful Christian business leaders aren't the most talented. They're the most obedient. They don't just plan and execute. They pray and wait. They don't just build what works, they build what's right. And once they understand that, they also begin to understand the deeper reason God asked them to build it all. Why a Christian business must serve before it sells. In the kingdom economy, service is the seed. Sales are just the fruit. Jesus didn't start with a pitch. He started with compassion. He fed the hungry, healed the sick, and met needs long before he ever called anyone to follow him. That model should shape every Christian business. If your godly business isn't solving problems, it's not yet in alignment with heaven's heartbeat. Too often, entrepreneurs chase revenue before they've built real relationships. But in a purpose-driven business, the focus shifts. You ask, who am I called to serve? What pain can I help heal? Whether you're selling consulting, coffee, or content, the question remains, are you adding value or just asking for attention? Think about the Good Samaritan. He didn't wait to be paid, he served first, and in doing so, he revealed the nature of kingdom leadership. Likewise, businesses that lead with generosity stand out. They offer free resources, transparent advice, and meaningful help without strings attached. Ironically, these are often the businesses that make money with the most loyalty and longevity. Selling isn't wrong, it's necessary. But when service is your core, sales become natural. People don't just buy your product, they trust your character. And when service shapes your strategy, you position your business to receive something even greater than profits: purpose-anchored influence. And that's when something begins to shift in the spiritual atmosphere over your business. Provision follows. Purpose. Financial breakthroughs that begin in prayer. Many entrepreneurs chase provision as if it were the goal. But in the kingdom, provision follows purpose. God funds what he authors. That's why a Christian business grounded in divine calling never runs on empty for long. Philippians 4:19 promises, "My God shall supply all your needs according to his riches and glory in Christ Jesus." But notice, it says needs, not wants, born of ego. Prayer is the gateway to divine provision. It's not just about asking God to bless your business. It's about aligning your business with what God is already blessing. Many godly business leaders have reported miraculous breakthroughs after they laid down their plans and sought God's. One entrepreneur paused his launch to fast and pray, and ended up with a strategic investor he never expected. Making money through kingdom principles means you don't have to manipulate, chase, or strive. You plant in obedience, you water in faith, and God gives the increase. That doesn't mean it's always fast, but it's always fruitful. The secret is consistency. Businesses built on prayer aren't shaken by scarcity. They've already anchored their hope in the source, not the sales. Here's a practical exercise. Before finalizing your budget or pricing, bring it into prayer. Ask, "Lord, is this structure honoring to you? Is it sustainable? Is it generous?" These small shifts unlock streams the world can't access. And once those streams begin to flow, the temptation to idolize money will come knocking. Overcoming mammon. How to make money without serving it. Jesus said it plainly in Matthew 6:24. You cannot serve both God and mammon. Mammon isn't just money. It's the spirit behind money that demands loyalty, control, and obsession. A Christian business must make money, yes, but it must never bow to it. When profit becomes the ultimate driver, purpose becomes diluted. Kingdom entrepreneurs are called to own wealth, not be owned by it. The challenge with mammon is subtlety. It whispers through urgency. Close that deal, no matter the ethics. It hides behind opportunity. If you don't act now, you'll miss out. But godly business leaders recognize that how they earn is just as important as how much. They reject manipulation, deceit, and greed, choosing instead integrity, fairness, and generosity. One practical way to resist mammon is by practicing radical generosity. Tithing from business profits, supporting missions, or funding scholarships are not just good deeds, they're declarations. Money doesn't rule me. Another, Sabbath. By refusing to grind 24/7, you're saying, my trust is in God's provision, not my hustle. These rhythms keep the heart free and the business clean. Making money without serving mammon means measuring success by faithfulness, not just finances. It's about asking daily, am I still aligned with heaven? And when you're free from mammon's grip, you're ready to recognize something else, that many of the breakthroughs you've been praying for come not just through effort, but through people divinely placed in your path. Divine networking. How God opens strategic doors through relationships. In the kingdom, relationships are currency. While the world tells you to network up for clout, God often promotes you through unexpected people in hidden places. David didn't meet Goliath by applying for the battlefield. He was simply bringing lunch. Yet that moment connected him to destiny. In a godly business, the right connection can unlock more than capital. It can unlock calling. Divine networking isn't about collecting contacts, it's about recognizing covenant connections. Who's speaking into your business? Who do you regularly pray with, plan with, grow with? God often hides his greatest gifts in people, not packages. That mentor you've been ignoring. That client who keeps coming back? They might not just be customers, they might be keys. Christian business leaders must learn to discern the difference between a good partnership and a God partnership. Ask, does this person sharpen my faith, challenge my integrity, and stretch my vision? Or do they pull me back into fear, greed, or confusion? One well-aligned relationship can elevate your entire strategy. But misalignment can drain you faster than a market crash. You don't need 1,000 followers. You need one divine connection. So pray for divine appointments. Steward your current relationships with integrity. And stay ready, because the next person God brings into your path may be carrying the strategy, resource, or wisdom you've been praying for. And when that connection comes, don't be surprised if your influence starts to expand faster than expected. Scaling with the Spirit, when growth honors the kingdom. Scaling a business is often seen as the ultimate proof of success, but in a Christian business, growth must be Spirit-led, not ego-driven. Proverbs 10:22 declares, "The blessing of the Lord makes rich, and he adds no sorrow with it." That means if expansion is leading to burnout, broken priorities, or compromise, it's not from God. True kingdom growth brings peace, not pressure. Godly business leaders must learn the difference between worldly scaling and kingdom scaling. The world chases speed, the Spirit values timing. For some, that means saying no to viral opportunities that conflict with core values. For others, it's being willing to hire slowly, invest wisely, or even shrink a business model to regain spiritual alignment. Scaling with the Spirit looks like building structures that honor Sabbath, protect mental health, and empower people. Think of Nehemiah. He didn't just rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. He organized teams, delegated wisely, and stayed focused on purpose. He scaled with focus, prayer, and integrity. That's the model for kingdom entrepreneurs: clarity before capacity. Growth isn't wrong, it's beautiful when it reflects the one who gave the vision. But without the Spirit's leading, scaling can become idolatry. So the next time expansion knocks on your door, pause and ask, is this opportunity from heaven or hype? Because if the answer is yes from God, then what's coming next isn't just growth. It's multiplication with a mission. Multiplying for mission. Reinvesting in what has eternal value. In a Christian business, multiplication isn't just about bigger profits, it's about broader impact. God doesn't bless you to build bigger barns for yourself, but to become a storehouse for others. Jesus told the parable of the rich fool, Luke 12:16-21, to warn against hoarding without purpose. Kingdom entrepreneurs multiply not for luxury, but for legacy. A godly business must ask, what am I reinvesting in? Is it eternal or just impressive? Reinvesting in staff development, missionary partnerships, kingdom media, or education for underserved communities. Those are choices that echo in eternity. The mission determines the direction. If it doesn't align with God's heart, it's just noise, no matter how polished. Multiplication without mission creates momentum without meaning. But when purpose drives reinvestment, results become revival. One small bakery began setting aside 10% of all earnings to fund church planting in unreached nations. Within 3 years, their influence tripled, not because of clever ads, but because of spiritual alignment. When you bless what matters to God, He multiplies what matters to you. So don't just expand, evaluate. Every dollar reinvested is a seed. Will it grow thorns or fruit? Ask the Lord where to sow. Because when multiplication becomes a matter of obedience, even your spreadsheets become sacred ground. And in that sacred ground, there's something else that must take root: discernment. Spiritual discernment in business. Decisions. Hearing God's voice in the noise. In today's fast-paced business world, everyone has advice, but not everyone has wisdom. That's why Christian business leaders must cultivate discernment. James 1:5 promises, if any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, and it will be given to him. Discernment is the ability to detect what looks good, feels right, but isn't from God. It's not intuition, it's revelation. A godly business doesn't make decisions based solely on data. It listens for direction. That might mean walking away from a guaranteed partnership because the Holy Spirit said no, or choosing a quiet season over an expansion campaign because peace left the room. Discernment may delay you in the short term, but it protects you for the long term. To sharpen this gift, entrepreneurs must steward their time with God like a CEO guards company assets. Create rhythms of listening through journaling, quiet time, even fasting when decisions feel cloudy. Practical tip: keep a discernment log. Track how God confirmed or redirected your choices over time. This builds confidence in hearing Him amid the noise. As decisions grow heavier, discernment must grow deeper. What the world celebrates may be a trap. What looks small may be sacred. So pause, pray, and pay attention. Because when you move by discernment, your business isn't just protected, it's prophetically positioned. And that's what leads to a rhythm of success few entrepreneurs ever experience: Sabbath rhythms and sustainable success. In a culture addicted to hustle, rest feels like rebellion. But in a godly business, Sabbath isn't a luxury, it's a leadership principle. God Himself rested on the seventh day, not because He was tired, but because He was modeling sustainable success. Christian entrepreneurs must understand: constant grinding doesn't glorify God, obedience to His rhythm does. Sabbath isn't just a Sunday off, it's a spiritual discipline that says, I trust God to work even when I don't. When you honor Sabbath in your business, by setting boundaries, respecting downtime, and encouraging rest in your team, you break the cycle of burnout. You also tell Mammon, you don't own my calendar. That's a powerful declaration in today's marketplace. Real-life example: Chick-fil-A, closed on Sundays, ridiculed for years. Now, one of the highest-grossing fast food chains per store in America. That's not just good business, that's kingdom rhythm in action. Sabbath attracts favor because it flows from faith. When your rest is worship, your work becomes warfare. Sustainable success doesn't come from working more, it comes from working aligned. And rest isn't the opposite of progress, it's part of the plan. So before you overbook next week, ask yourself, is there space for stillness? Because in the silence of rest, God often speaks the loudest about what you're really meant to build next. Legacy over luxury. What kingdom entrepreneurs leave behind. Luxury fades, but legacy speaks for generations. A Christian business should aim higher than lifestyle. It should aim for impact. Proverbs 13:22 says, "A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children." But this inheritance isn't just financial, it's spiritual, cultural, and missional. Godly business leaders build not just for profit, but for purpose that outlives them. Luxury says, "Look at what I have." Legacy says, "Look at what I gave." This doesn't mean wealth is wrong, it means wealth is a tool, not the target. What values are your clients, your team, and your children catching from your business? Is it hustle and hustle alone? Or are they seeing humility, faith, generosity, and eternal vision in action? Some of the most powerful legacies were built in obscurity. The Christian entrepreneur who quietly funds Bible translations. The small business owner who mentors single moms into entrepreneurship. The tech founder who creates platforms free of censorship for kingdom voices. These stories don't always make headlines, but they make heaven rejoice. At the end of your life, it won't be your car, your income, or your awards that matter. It'll be the souls impacted, the systems changed, and the seeds sown into eternity. So what are you really building? Because the moment you prioritize legacy over luxury, God starts giving you blueprints for both. Now that you've seen how God guides kingdom entrepreneurs, what will you do about it? Will you keep building a business that simply survives? Or will you step into one that serves, multiplies, and glorifies the King? Will you continue chasing trends that lead to exhaustion? Or align your vision with the divine blueprint that leads to peace and purpose? You've been given tools that few ever receive. The next move is yours. How different would your life look if every decision was birthed in prayer? Every connection filtered through discernment and every dollar reinvested into eternity. Imagine the impact, the transformation, the legacy. You weren't just called to make money, you were chosen to shift atmospheres through a Christian business that reflects God's heart. Write in the comments, "Lord, guide my business." And watch how this powerful declaration begins to shift the course of your business and your finances from this day forward. If this message spoke to you, consider supporting our ministry through the link in the description. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and stay connected as we continue unlocking powerful biblical truths for godly business leaders like you.